For the past 5 years, I've been using one of these cameras, the Fujifilm X-T series, and I love it for many reasons, but I always had my eyes on the Sony cameras, and a few weeks ago, I finally made the jump and ordered their latest model, the A74. And in this video, I want to talk a little bit about why I'm switching and share my first impressions and comparison between these two cameras. Let's go. If this is your first time on my channel, my name is Dan and I make videos for part-time YouTubers, and I also share my life as an expat living in Australia. When I was planning this video, I was thinking, what do people care about when they're considering switching camera systems? And here's what I came up with. The price, the image quality, the menu systems, the file handling, and obviously the benefits of switching systems and things that you may lose when switching camera systems. Just a bit of context on how I use my cameras and my personal needs so you know where I'm coming from. I'm a hybrid shooter, so I need a camera that can do both well, photos and videos. I don't want to have to lag around multiple camera bodies, one for incredible photos and one that's purely designed for video. Up until now, Fujifilm was the perfect choice for me because I used to do mostly photos up until about 1.5 years ago, and once I got more into video, I upgraded to the X-T4, which not only had a 24 megapixel sensor for photos, but it also shoots 4K 60 frames per second in 422 10-bit, which is what you want to have to get the most quality and data for a lot of color grading and post-processing. Sony didn't really have a model that met these requirements. The previous model for hybrid shooters was the A7IV, but it didn't do 4K 60 frames per second or 10-bit colors, and it also didn't have a flip-out screen, so Fujifilm was much better in that sense. However, I always wanted to make the jump to full frame, but I wasn't planning on doing that anytime soon. But then I watched the first few reviews of the A74, and then I just found myself clicking that pre-order button much faster than expected. Okay, let's look at each of these categories. These are only my first impressions because I've only had this camera for a couple of weeks and I've been moving, so I didn't really have that much time to use it yet. There might also be a few things that I'm not mentioning in this video because they are not that relevant to me. So let me know in the comments below if you have any questions and I will do my best to answer them. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room first, the price. The Sony A74 is a lot more expensive. It sells for 2,495 US dollars or just under 4,000 Australian dollars compared to the Fujifilm X-T4 that sold when it came out for 1,699 USD, or I paid, I think, 2,400 Australian dollars. And let's not even talk about lenses. You have to throw so much money at the Sony lenses compared to Fujifilm, especially if you're after their pro-grade G Master lenses. The most expensive lens that I had for my Fujifilm camera was the 50mm f1.0, and that was, I think, 2,300 Australian dollars. And most of the lenses that I'm looking at for the Sony are around that price range or higher. So the kit that I'm starting with for my Sony is the A74 body and the 16-35 G Master lens. And to pay for these two things, I would have had to sell my entire Fujifilm gear, which was the X-T4 body and 4 lenses, which was my original plan. But then I ended up deciding to keep the X-T4 body and 1 lens. YOLO, am I right? Now, I knew that I would switch to full frame at some stage, so I thought, why not start investing into those lenses and cameras now instead of keep buying Fujifilm lenses that I would need to sell at some stage. Number 2, image quality. Now, as I said, I can't really say too much about this yet because I haven't used the camera that much, but I always had a weakness for the full frame look, so I'm really excited that I'm getting this with this camera now. A couple of things I've already noticed is the low light capability, which is a characteristic of full frame cameras, and the sharpness of the images, especially in comparison to the Fujifilm. When you process the RAW files in Lightroom, you get this weird wormy image. When you zoom in closely, it looks really bad, and that's not the case for the Sony RAW files, and it looks so much clearer, which is great. I might make a follow-up video about the image quality further down the line, even though I'm not really a camera reviewer or pixel peeper, but if you're interested in that, let me know below. Number 3, the menu systems. Now, fun fact, that is something that pushed me more towards Fujifilm back in 2017 when I was researching APS-C cameras and which one to buy, because I heard so many bad things about the menu systems of the Sony cameras and the battery life, which is one factor why I ended up going with Fujifilm. Now, with the menu systems, it's really about personal preference. I've heard people who use the Fujifilm complain about their menu systems. Other people don't understand the Sony menu systems. I'm kind of fine with both. I am very familiar with the Fujifilm menu system, obviously, but I'm already getting used to the Sony menus more and more, especially after I think they've changed their layout recently. It is quite intuitive. I also don't really play around with too many features because I have like 4 or 5 settings that I need to change regularly, and those I have on either custom buttons or the quick menu. So I don't really go very deep into the menu settings at all. So yeah, it's fine. And I think I'm just gonna get used to it more and more the longer I use the camera. Number 4, the file handling. Now, this is where I have a bone to pick with Sony, because the file handling of the Sony files is such a hassle compared to Fujifilm. One thing was the photos. When I first imported them into Lightroom, I couldn't get them in because the RAW file format wasn't supported yet, which now got fixed, so that's all fine. I'm more annoyed about the video files, because what I usually do is I just press the spacebar on my Mac to preview the clips, which I can't do with the Sony files. I actually have to open them in the VLC player to see what it is. I'm shooting in XAVC S4K, which gives me the perfect balance between quality and file size, but I just can't open them. And that probably means as well that I need a proxy workflow for editing, which is fine. But is there anything that I'm missing or anything that I should do to simply preview the files on my Mac? If you know a workaround or anything about that, then please let me know, because this is driving me crazy. Okay, now let's talk about the benefits of upgrading to the Sony system, and that's my personal opinion. Number 1 is the autofocus, and that is such a game changer. It's huge. It's so accurate. It's so reliable. And that's really important as a solo shooter and solo filmer. You know, this YouTube channel is a one-man show, so I need to have really reliable autofocus when I'm out and about shooting. And so that's one major selling point. Number 2, the image quality and especially the full frame look. I know a lot of people would disagree with that and argue with that. I'll already see the hate coming, but for me personally, I really like the look and I'm really happy that I'm getting it now with this camera. And number 3 is this is a lot more future-proof for me, because I knew I was gonna upgrade to full frame. Now that I did, I know that I'm probably gonna change camera bodies down the line, you know, in a few years, but the lenses that I'm going to invest in are probably lenses that I will have for a long, long time. Okay, now a few disadvantages of upgrading to Sony and leaving the Fujifilm system. And number 1 is the form factor. And that's something I noticed right away when I took the A74 out of the box, is that it's a lot bigger, which I knew, but it is definitely something that I need to get used to. Number 2, as I said, the file handling. So if there's no workaround to simply preview these files, I know this is gonna annoy me. That's something I'm gonna miss using the Fujifilm. And then the dials. I love the dials on the Fujifilm cameras. And I feel like back in 2017, it really helped me understand manual mode and the exposure triangle. So really gonna miss the dials. And then everything will be so much more expensive, which I am prepared for, but it's just gonna be painful dropping all that money on those super expensive lenses. But you know, it is what it is. As I mentioned, I'm actually gonna keep the Fujifilm camera as a second camera, just so I can get shots of me using my main camera. You know, there are always these moments when you need a second camera and you want it to be good quality and not just on your phone. I know I will have to match colors and stuff, but you know, maybe one day I can afford another Sony body. I hope this was helpful to you. Let me know in the comments below if you are considering switching from Fuji to Sony or from any other camera system. And if you have any questions that I might be able to answer, then let me know in the comments below as well. Give the video a like and subscribe if you want to see my future videos. And if you've been around for a while and you're wondering where I am and what this new background is, we just moved from Sydney to Melbourne, and this is our new place, and this is the new office space. I've done a moving vlog about the first part of the move a couple of weeks ago, and I'm working on the second part of us arriving and sort of setting everything up. So I will share that soon, so stick around for that. And then I'm also probably going to make videos about setting up the office space, because there's quite a lot of work to be done, and a whole apartment tour probably as well. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, and thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you soon. Take care.